Hey, I'm Rhys Millen. We're at the 90th running of the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb. We're excited for an all-paved course and new challenges, and we're really confident going into this year that the setup that we brought for the car is going to be really competitive. The best thing about this car is really the engine package. It's over 750 horsepower, 700 foot-pounds of torque, and that really helps at this altitude with a 4.1 litre displacement. For this year, we've stepped down a division to run a production-based car into the Time Attack division from the Unlimited division that we've run for the last 2 years. On race day, talking to my crew, we had information that Paul Dollenbach had a heavy crash and luckily was okay, but was out of the event. And while that was going on, a delayed announcement that a French driver in the Dacia in Unlimited had also crashed at the top. So the race had really come down to Dumas in the Porsche and ourselves, with 1 second separating us over the entire course. And the bottom section is really fast flowing, so a lot of commitment and kind of feeling out the first few corners, really just to feel the road temperature change from practice in the morning that's 35 degrees to a 90 degree road temperature on race day. Through the bottom section is actually one of the fastest recorded speeds that we have here, coming up into Engineer Straightaway, top of fifth on the rev limiter, 135 mile an hour, into hard braking into what's called Engineer's Corner. It should be called Rookie's Corner because a lot of people go off on this corner, but carrying that momentum out of Engineers, coming into the second fastest part of the course, which is Picnic Ground Straightaway, and where they typically post the fastest radar speeds. Clicking through here in fourth and then fifth, short shift to fifth, up the straightaway, again on the rev limiter. We're carrying more speed than we had in practice, so if we run this car again next year, we'll have to bump the RPM. Now, for the first time this year, with an all-paved course, we're now going into a section that is typically was the last section of dirt. It's now paved, as mentioned, and it's one of the first runs on race day that we're going to have on this section. So again, maximizing short shifting, using that torque out of the engine, and using all the road that we can, putting these sticky Hankook tires to use, and just firing it through these corners, and again hard into braking. Coming into a corner that was typically one of my favorites, called Blue Sky. It's a triple apex left. You could pretty much slide forever all the way through this corner, and now just having to be clean and tidy. Just telling myself to be patient and putting the car in the right spots that it had to be to just maximize every tenth of a second. One of the things that we struggled with in practice, and unfortunately we could not eliminate, this car is a multi-purpose car. It's used for drifting and it's used for Pikes Peak, was the differential setting. It's a Torsen gear-driven differential, and with the very stiff setup that we had on the suspension settings through all of these hairpins here, we were lifting the inside tire off the ground, and unfortunately with the type of differential, it was actually lighting up the inside tire, basically making it open diff. So in the tighter sections, we were giving up 3/10 to 4/10 every section, or every hairpin, and I just had to be really patient on race day to let this chassis settle and then get the power to the ground. New for this year in this car over what my father ran was a new transmission. It's out of the V8 supercars that they run in Australia. It's a gearbox by the name of a company called Hollinger, and it's a flat shift transmission, so we could keep the foot flat to the floor and just kill the ignition and just fire the car up through the corners, saving again tenths of a second through every shift, which was very important for a paved course this year. To come here this year, my 18th running, first year winning as a rookie in the Pikes Peak Open Division in 1992 at 19 years old, in one of my father's old Group B 4-wheel drive Mazda RX-7s. So a lot of history, a lot of experience on the hill for not only myself but obviously for my family. And to challenge the hill this year with an all-new paved course and to bring the mountain back into the Millen name was a fantastic feeling. We weren't in the fastest division. We were potentially 3rd or 4th overall, but if we were smart on race day, my father and I discussed we might just get gifted the win. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's the fastest, it's who's the smartest, and we made it to the top in the fastest time ever. This corner here is quite famous, called Ragged Edge. You run right out to the pebbles and up the straightaway, and it really comes into one of the least technical driving sides of the course, but one of the most important for maximizing braking and acceleration. It's called the W's, 16-mile area, and it's just a lot of hard braking through the gears and then firing it through these hairpins and then back up through here. One of the biggest challenges that you need to remember of this course, though, is a sequence. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 hairpins left. First one, the second one, and the third one are hairpins, 180-degree lefts. The fourth one opens up into a straightaway into the last section. Get that rhythm wrong, and you're going off the mountain. That has been proved in the last 2 years, where people have maybe thought they were a hairpin lower and fired off the side of the mountain at some 60, 80 mile an hour. So very challenging, but you know, primarily just in braking and acceleration. The whole week was really an exercise in patience. I typically don't push the car until the hardest point, which is on race day, and it's very, very similar to that for my discipline of drift. Throughout practice in a drift event, you've only got 2 events that really you need to be on the wall, and that's 2 laps of qualifying. Throughout the rest of the runs, you can kind of play it a little safe. And here with Pikes Peak, it's kind of the same attitude. You've got 3 days of testing. You got 1 chance on race day to put it all together and to push as hard as you can. Up through the upper section here is one of the sections that I've always enjoyed. It's full commitment, 4th and 5th gear, down through these dips and bottomless pit here, and then up and over these blind crests up into Boulder Park. And you really need to maximize confidence and turning and carrying the speed up and over these crests. At the start line, I asked my crew what was going on with the weather conditions at the top of the road, and I'd heard that there'd been rain, and we just knew that we had to push harder than we ever had in the bottom section and the middle section with the confidence on slick tires, and then just kind of evaluate what the conditions were going to be at the top of the run. Well, we had a bit of rain, first time running on slick tires and first time running in the rain. And again, the experience of everything that I do in a diverse background really helped this year in Formula Drift. We had 2 events in the rain, having to qualify in the rain, and just knowing how much precipitation was on the ground and how much that related into how much grip was still left on the pavement. And so I used that, you know, that throwback of Atlanta and Palm Beach, Florida, qualifying in drift to sense how much braking pressure I could still have out of the surface until it got so wet up past Boulder Park that it was just a tiptoe. That the road was pretty much like a small river, and there was literally no grip out of the tires. We were short shifting to keep the car out of boost. I pretty much threw the overall victory away. You know, the smart thing was to finish for a class victory, and then if we posted a good time, then we posted a good time. But still trying to, you know, maximize the car, but just not make any mistakes. At any point, you would have a brake lockup, a half spin, or anything like that. It was going to cost you more than just playing it smart. One of the other things you'll see in the upper section when the rain comes is I start using the clutch to kind of reduce the blow on the tires to not stop them from shaking off or keep spinning. So again, just a lot of techniques applied throughout the run. So at this point here, I'm shaking my hands up in the air and I'm just like, there's no way we've got it. That was so frustrating how slow I had to run in the last mile of the course. 5 minutes later, we get the word. Romain Dumas's time was a 9:46.18, and the guy with the official timing says, "Do you want to know your time?" And I'm like, "Sure I do." And he goes, 9:46.1, and I'm like, oh my gosh, one digit higher as a 9, or is it going to be lower? And he goes, 1:06, and I just reached for the sky. It was an incredible feeling.